Hey everyone, how are y'all doing? Welcome or welcome back to my channel. So today's video is one that I've been wanting to do for a very long time now, and that is tier ranking every single series that I've read. So this is the updated version because I did do this about 3 years ago, and I've read more series since then, and I've also rewatched that video since then, and I don't necessarily agree with some of my rankings. And I've also reread some of those series since making that video, so I remember them a little bit clearer than I did when filming that video. So I thought it was about time that I did an updated version, and I'm so excited to go through all of these series with you. I have a lot to go through, so let's just get started. First, I want to introduce our tiers. So the first tier is the best of the best, my absolute favorite series, ones that I will hear no criticisms on. They're just my absolute favorites. And then we have lives in my head rent free. So they're series that I just think about all the time, but they maybe aren't necessarily on the same level as my absolute favorites, the best of the best. So it's just like a slight notch lower than the best of the best. And then we have the solid tier. So this tier is for the solid series, the ones that are good. They're not the best, they're not the worst, they're just kind of middle of the road, fine. And then we have the meh tier for ones that maybe I used to love but they just aren't as good anymore, or ones that just didn't quite hit the mark for me. And then we have it's a no from me, which is the last tier, which are for series that I just really don't like or I just didn't connect with. They're just not for me. So yeah, those are the 5 tiers that we have. I'm so excited to get into this with all of you, so let's start ranking now because like I said, we have a lot to get through. Okay, so first up we have the Cassandra Clare section. We have a lot of her series to get through. So these are also, by the way, just finished series. I don't have any series in here that are unfinished. So the first series on here is the Mortal Instruments. So I feel like a lot of my love for this series comes from nostalgia. It was one of the first series that I read from booktube, like just discovering all these new books from booktube, and I do adore it. Okay, I love the world, I do like the characters. I don't know, I reread most of the series recently. I still have City of Heavenly Fire to go, which I do believe is my favorite in that series. And it just, I don't know, this series leaves a lot to be desired. I think it's definitely Cassandra Clare's like worst work, just because her other series in my opinion are so much stronger, which makes sense. You know, you just get better as you go on the more that you write. So this one's really tough for me because like nostalgic reasons I want to like put it pretty high in the ranking, but I also know that it just doesn't quite deserve that, and it just didn't quite hit the same when I was rereading it. Like plot wise, it's just not the best. So I really struggle with this one, so I think I'm gonna put it in the solid tier just because it's entertaining, it's fun, but it's just not, it's not the best, and I have to admit that to myself. So naturally the next series is the Infernal Devices, which is the prequel series to the Mortal Instruments. This series for me, I think I ranked it on the same level as City of Bones in my last video, and I did not rank City of Bones that high. I think it was probably also still middle of the road tier. I'm gonna rank it higher this time. I really love the Infernal Devices, and I am so connected to those characters, and I think the reason why I didn't rank it super high last time was because I do find that first book to be a bit slow, but I still have a great time when reading it. So I was really unfair on this series, and I apologize to every Infernal Devices fan for that. Like, it does not deserve that. Plus, like, Clockwork Princess is one of her best books ever, like one of the best finales, just one of her best books, so I deeply apologize to everybody, including myself. Like, I'm mad at past Brittany. So this one, ooh, okay, I'm struggling between the best of the best and Lives in My Head Rent Free. Think for now I'll put it in Lives in My Head Rent Free, and I might change my mind at a later point once I kind of see what the other tiers are starting to look like, but for right now, Lives in My Head Rent Free. So then we have the next series, which is the Dark Artifices series. I adore this series, and I did rank this higher than the other two last time. I have not reread this series in its entirety, but I know that I really love it. It's one of my favorites. Love the characters. It's kind of like the sequel series to the Mortal Instruments. It continues that timeline. I need to reread this series, but the books are just all so big. I think I'm also for now gonna put this in Lives in My Head Rent Free. But the next series is the Last Hours trilogy. I think maybe we might have found our first the best of the best. I don't know. I love this series so much, and I know that a lot of people were disappointed in A Chain of Thorns, which I understand, okay? In hindsight, after reading, I understand all the issues. I get that it's not her best finale, not her best conclusion to a series, especially since this is the last that we were getting in that like prequel timeline. I get that like it's technically not the best because she just, I don't know, some things about the last book just weren't the greatest. Like, it didn't live up to what people were wanting, but when I was reading that book, I was eating it up. I was living for every single word on those pages. It had me bawling. Like, I love those characters, and I honestly think I might be the most connected to that cast of characters, which was a real big shock to me because of how connected and how much I love her other characters. But there is something about like James and Cordelia that just I love them so much. So you know what, yep, The Last Hours is going into the best of the best, even though as a whole, as a collective, it might not deserve that, but in my heart, that is what I feel. So that is what I'm going to do, because I think in the last tier list I did for series, and just in tier lists in general, sometimes I can like try to be too objective of like what other people think, but this is all about me. I'm tier ranking series that I've read based on my own subjective feelings. So my subjective feelings is that it belongs in the best of the best. The next series is the Magisterium series by Cassandra Clare and Holly Black. This is their middle grade series that they did together, and I like this series. It's a fun time. I definitely would reread it, but it's not my favorite. Like, I don't think about it very often. Honestly, couldn't really tell you all that much about it. I do think they did a lot of interesting things with it, kind of turned some tropes on their head, which I really enjoyed, and I listened to the audiobooks and those were enjoyable. So I'm gonna put this in the solid tier, I think, because it is a good solid time. There's like nothing wrong with it. It just doesn't really stick out in my head amongst other books that I've read, so I think the middle of the road tier is exactly where that needs to be. The next series that I have here is To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han. My little contemporary romance baby. I love To All the Boys. I think it's such like a cute, comforting series. It has the best vibes. Yeah, you know what? It's going straight up into the best of the best. I love To All the Boys a lot. I reread it often, usually around Valentine's Day is when I specifically get in the mood for some Lara Jean and Peter Kavinsky. It's just like, you can't beat it, okay? It's so cute, it's fun. I love it. I simply adore it. I do. Okay, I feel like we're gonna have a lot of series actually in that top tier, because I'm trying to be less like objective this time. I want to be subjective. Like I want to do whatever my happy little heart feels. So the next series is the Brown Sister Trilogy by Talia Hibbert. This is an adult romance series and it's one of my favorites. Each book is just so good and could stand so well on its own. Each romance is just so good. I think my personal favorite in the series is Take a Hint, Dani Brown. Although I love them all so much. I'm definitely in need of a reread, especially since I haven't reread that final book yet. So you know what, I don't even have to think about this. Get a Life, Chloe Brown is in that top tier, the best of the best. The next series is The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer by Michelle Hodkin. This series was huge on booktube back in like 2014, 2015. I fell into the hype, read it, loved it. Every so often I do find myself thinking about it a lot, and I have read it quite a few times, but that last book just doesn't hit the same as the first two. Like if I was ranking this just based off of the first or the second book, I think I would rank it a lot higher than what I'm about to. But that final book just really, it takes a turn that just doesn't sit right with, I feel like, most people. I still love it. I still really enjoy it. It does some different things that the other books don't do, and it just, I don't know, it just doesn't hit the same. It's hard to explain, especially since I haven't read it in a few years, but it just, the Retribution of Mara Dyer just does not hit the same. So for that, ooh, I'm stuck between meh and solid. Now I'm gonna do solid because I'm not gonna like let the last book ruin the first two books and let it sink that rating any lower. I think it deserves to be in that middle of the road tier. I really enjoy it. I love Mara, I love Noah, and I just think it's a good time. It's like creepy. It's perfect for like the fall time if you're looking for something a little bit spooky. I like it. It's going in the solid tier. That's where I've put it. Then we have I don't actually know what the official title for the series is, but the first book is Broken Hearts, Fences, and Other Things to Mend, and this is by Katie Finn, which is Morgan Matson's pen name. I really enjoyed this series when I first read it, but honestly, I never ever think about it. It was fun at the time. I would like to reread it one day. It's just like, you know, a fun like summer series. It's about revenge and the titles are really fun. I don't know, it is a good series. I just don't remember like most things from it, and I remember being disappointed in the final book. So for that, ooh, this breaks my heart. I think I'm gonna put it in meh. The next series is Legend by Marie Lu. This is one of my favorite trilogies of all time. Another book that I read because of booktube, and I read it at the very beginning of my channel. It was like the first series that I read of my channel, so it's always super like nostalgic and special to me for that reason. You know what, I'm gonna yeah, I'm gonna put it in the best of the best. I know I don't like talk about it very often, but I love it. I love that series. It's just so good. I love Day. I love June. Did I say that it was a trilogy? It's technically not, because they released a fourth book like years and years later, and I was really worried that that would kind of like taint the original series, but I actually really enjoyed it. And then another Marie Lu series is Warcross. It's a duology, and this one was also a lot of fun. I think I was surprised by how much I loved Warcross, because it's like about like video games, like virtual reality kind of stuff, and that's just not really my thing, but I really loved it. I think I liked Wildcard a little bit less than the first book, so for that I think I'm gonna put it in solid. Then we have The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. I have so many thoughts about this series now, and the show kind of changed my perspective on everything, and I'm gonna try not to think about the show too hard while ranking the books, because I feel very differently about the show than I do about the books. I feel like the things that I said about the series in my last video rang true. I think I said like if I were to reread it, I would probably still have like a fun and entertaining time, and I did. They were very quick reads. They were just like fun summer books, but nothing really happened in them. I'm gonna put The Summer I Turned Pretty in meh. The next series is Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. This one's not that tricky for me. I was gonna say it's tricky, it's not really. I do really still like that first book. I loved it when I first read it. I still liked it upon a reread, but it's the rest of the series where it kind of falls off for me. So I'm gonna put Red Queen in meh. It just doesn't do anything for me. I literally never think about it. The next series is The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. I love this series. I love it so much. Those characters, I would die for them. Okay, I live for them. I would die for them. They are the best. But is the series the best of the best? It definitely lives in my head rent-free. I find myself thinking about these characters a lot, so I think I'm gonna put it in lives in my head rent-free. The next series is The Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. I don't even have to think about this. This is going straight up into the best of the best. I recently reread this series and I annotated it, which was just, oh my god, it was so much fun to annotate that series. I love those characters so much, and it's just a really good series. And then I didn't include this in my last one because I just forgot, but we have the Wires and Nerve graphic novels, which is the continuation of the Lunar Chronicles, and these are also, no question, going into the best of the best. And then the next series we have is Renegades, also by Marissa Meyer. We have a little bit of a Marissa Meyer section going here. Renegades is also going in the best of the best. The first book was a bit slow for me when I was first reading it. It took me about halfway through that first book to get into it, but despite that first half of the first book, the rest of the series definitely 100% makes up for any shortcomings that that first book might have had. I'm obsessed with it. The best of the best. And then we have Gilded, and I'm immediately just gonna put this in the solid tier. I really enjoy it. I definitely don't love it as much as her other series. The next series is The Dark Vault by V.E. Schwab. So we have the Archived and the Unbound. That's just the bind up title for it. This is going straight into the best of the best. This is one of my favorite series of all time. I'm obsessed with it. Very few things bring me more joy than that spooky hotel turned apartments, the Coronado, I think it's called, Mac and Wesley, the Keys. Like, I love a good like creepy little key, and like creepy little like hotels or houses. Like, everything that I love is in that series. The next series we have is This Savage Song, which is also by V. Schwab, and this one, I hate to do it, but this is the first one that's in It's a No from me. I don't like this series. I don't like it. I just don't. The next series we have is A Darker Shade of Magic. This one I just reread. So this one is gonna go in Lives in My Head rent free. It is a favorite series, but it's just, I don't think for me personally it quite ranks at the top there. But I love those characters, love the world, love V. Schwab's writing, like absolutely without a question, without a doubt in my mind. Her writing is one of my favorites there is. The next series is The Dreadful Tale of Prosper Redding by Alexandra Bracken. This is a middle grade duology. It's fun. It's solid. You know what? It's solid. Then we have Divergent by Veronica Roth. Immediately just gonna put this in meh. I don't think I really need to explain that. I think most people would feel the same way. But then we have The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins, which is just going straight up into the best of the best. Is anybody surprised? Absolutely not. I love that series. Then we have Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I'm gonna put this one in solid just because I do really struggle with high fantasies, but I really enjoyed this duology and I was actually shocked by how much I ended up enjoying it. I do think that with the reread it could get up to Lives in My Head rent free, and honestly it's very close to being in that tier because I do often think about this book and this series and those characters like Kaz and Inej, Jesper. Okay, it's very close to being Lives in My Head rent free. Just I can't quite put it there yet. The next series though is The Chance to Fly by Ali Stroker and Stacey David Owitz. I just read the sequel to The Chance to Fly yesterday. Read it in one day. It was so good, like so good. It's just like the cutest, purest little middle grade series about these kids putting on these like musical theater productions, and it's just so cute. I love the main character so much. Don't even have to think about it. The Chance to Fly is one of my favorite books of all time and is going straight up into the best of the best. Then we have If I Stay by Gail Forman. This duology was one of my favorites when I was like 14. I think I'm gonna put it in solid. I still enjoy it. I enjoyed it less when I reread it, but I still really like it, so it's gonna go in solid. Then we have Lockwood and Co by Jonathan Stroud. That's a series that I read this year for the first time because of the Netflix adaptation. I love that series so much. That's going in Lives in My Head rent free for sure. It's so much fun. The next series is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. I just recently finished this series and I really enjoyed it. It's a super fun thriller series. That third book took a turn that I was not expecting, but I really enjoyed it and it was really interesting to read. I'm gonna put this one though in solid. I don't know if it quite lives in my head rent free. Then we have A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J Maas. I hate to admit it, but I love this series so much. I think I'm just gonna put it in Lives in My Head rent free. I don't know if I want to put it in the best of the best. Then we have the Kingdom of the Wicked series by Carrie Maniscalco. This one started off okay for me, but then it kind of went downhill. Honestly, don't remember that last book really at all, even though I just read it this year. I'm gonna put this one in meh. The next series is Dark Visions by LJ Smith. I forgot to include this one in the last video, but I read this when I was like 13, loved it. I don't remember anything about it, so it's gonna go straight into meh. Just for that reason alone, I remember loving it, but literally cannot tell you anything about it. Then we have Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson, and I know that this one is not completed. We still have another book coming out as far as we know, but I'm gonna just count this as the original trilogy, the one that follows the same mystery, because I kind of divide them up in my head anyways, and that is going straight up into the best of the best for me. It is one of my absolute favorite series. I love it so much. Then we have Anne of Green Gables by Ella Montgomery, and this was really painful to rank last time because if we're just ranking that first book, it's the best of the best, but we're not doing that. We're ranking the whole series. So the whole series for me is meh. It's just not very good. It definitely loses its charm past book 3, and there's 8 books, so that it sucks and it hurts my soul. I hate seeing it down that low, but it is what it is. The next series is Winnie the Pooh by A.A. Milne. This one I'm gonna put in solid. It's a cute, fun time. Then we have Geekerella by Ashley Poston. This is a companion series. This is going in the best of the best. I don't feel like I need to explain myself on that one. I personally adore it. I love me some fairy tale retellings, but make them nerdy. Then we have Burn for Burn by Jenny Han and Siobhan Vivian. This one I have not read in a very long time, and I honestly don't think it would hold up the same for me, and I don't think I would like it as much, so this one's gonna go in meh. Then we have 10 Rules for Faking It by Sophie Sullivan. This is another companion trilogy. I'm gonna put this up in the best of the best. Then we have Suddenly Supernatural by Elizabeth Cody Kimmel, I think the author is. This is a series that I read when I was really young. Don't remember a whole lot about it, but I did reread the first 2 books a couple years ago and it was just fine, so meh. Then we have A Scythe by Neil Shusterman. Loved the first 2 books. The last book honestly ruined it for me, so I'm gonna put it in meh. It's very, very close, honestly, though, to being in it's a no from me, which is just tragic. The next series, though, is Shatter Me by Tahara Mafi. This is one of my favorite series of all time, even though the last 3 books I definitely like significantly less than the first 3 books. It is still going straight up into the best of the best. What can I tell you? I love Juliet and Warner so much, it's not even funny. Then we have Twilight by Stephanie Meyer, and this one, loved as a kid, loved it so much. It's no longer for me, do not like it, so it's going into it's a no from me. Then we have the Summoning the Darkest Powers trilogy by Kelly Armstrong, another favorite from when I was young. Reread it, it just wasn't as good. It just wasn't as good, and as much as I still enjoyed it, I think I have to put it in meh. I don't even know if I can call it solid. And just by default, I'm going to put The Darkness Rising, the spin-off trilogy, right next to it, just because I haven't reread it, but I'm assuming I'm going to feel about the same, so it's just going to go right next to it. Then we have Soul Screamers by Rachel Vincent, which is one of my guilty pleasures for sure. It's like really old, trashy YA, so it is going straight up into the best of the best. And I'm not gonna feel guilty for that. I'm obsessed with that series. Then we have What If It's Us by Becky Albertalli and Adam Silvera. This duology is super cute. I'm gonna put it in lives in my head rent free. Yeah, sure, I'm gonna go with that. I definitely don't love this book as much as I did when I first read it. The sequel was fun. You know what, no, I'm gonna move it down to solid. I'm just not as obsessed with it as I used to be. Then we have Vampire Academy by Rochelle Mead. This one is one of my favorites. I'm gonna put it in lives in my head rent free. I just don't know if it belongs in that top category, and I think I'm gonna put Bloodlines, the spin-off series, right next to it. Those 2 are pretty close to the best of the best, if I'm being honest. They're almost there. Then we have Dumplin' by Julie Murphy, and I do find it quite difficult to rank the companion series because I would say I like each of these books differently, so I'm gonna put this one in solid, honestly. Then we have Caraval by Stephanie Garber. This one for me is also going to go in solid. I really, really like it, and I really love the spin-off series that I've not yet finished, even though the last book just came out recently. But I really enjoy it. It's just, again, not on the same level as those top 2 tiers. Then we have The Diviners by Libba Bray. I really like this series, but I think it's just solid for me. I do think about it a lot. It does partially live in my head rent-free, but I don't want to put it in that category, so default is solid. Then we have Anna and the French Kiss by Stephanie Perkins. This one I'm gonna put in the meh tier. I don't think it would have hit quite the same upon a reread, so meh. Then we have The Name of This Book is Secret by Pseudonymous Bosch, I think the author is. Read this when I was 10, loved it. Have not reread it since, but I do still think it would be a fun time. I think it's written in a really creative way, so I'm gonna put that one in solid, I think. Then we have Percy Jackson's. This one I'm going to put in solid. It's not my favorite, but I do think it's fun. I see why everybody loves it. I'm just not a huge Greek mythology person. Then we have Alice in Zombieland by Gina Showalter. It used to be a favorite of mine, but now it's a no from me. Then we have the Dead Is series by Marlene Perez. I also forgot this one in my last video. This one's gonna go in meh for me. I haven't reread the full series, but I reread the first book years ago and it just didn't quite hit the same. And then we have When Dimple Met Rishi by Sandia Menon. It's the best of the best. It is such a good companion series. I love each book equally. They're so good. The next series is the Simonverse books by Becky Albertalli. This one I struggle with because Leah on the Offbeat is not my absolute favorite, but I love the first 2 books. So I'm gonna put this one in lives in my head rent free. Ooh, no, you know what, I'm gonna put it in the best of the best, even though the last book's not my favorite. It's still a really fun time, and I think the first 2 books make up for that, so the best of the best. And the last series that I'm gonna be talking about today is Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco. This one I'm gonna put in the best of the best. I'm just going with my gut reaction there. I love that series so much. But yeah, so that is my updated tier ranking of the series that I've read. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a huge thumbs up. Comment down below and tell me what your favorite series is, because I'd really love to know. Also, let me know if you agree with my ranking, if you've read some of these series. Subscribe if you have not yet already, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!